Hi everyone and welcome to the Empowered You podcast. I'm Javi Israel, your host, speaking to you from Sydney, Australia. After October 7, I found myself in uncomfortable situations, not sure how to respond or navigate. That's why I created the Empowered You, first an organization and now a podcast to equip you with the knowledge, skills, and tools surrounding Israel and your Jewish identity. In each episode, we'll explore various topics from multiple perspectives so that you can feel informed, empowered, and proud of who you are. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Alrighty, hello Tim.
G'day. Good to be here.
I know, it's so nice to finally be able to properly have a chat together and to meet the superhero that you are.
Please don't say that.
Should I not? Well,
No. Don't pile it on too thick. I do what I can, and I'm happy and blessed to be able to use my skills in the field that I've been in for a long time. So I feel blessed to be part of it, and I appreciate your kind words though.
So, Tim, before we get to hear all the awesome things that you've done, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Where were you born and raised?
Okay, I was born in a small country town, New South Wales, and I actually grew up in Tasmania. My father, he was a firefighter in New South Wales, and then he accepted a position in Tasmania Fire Service, so moved to Tasmania. And he was a firefighter down there for a while. And so I grew up in Tassie until I was about, 9 years old. And then we're up in Sydney ever since. My professional background is I joined, well, not professional, but I joined as a volunteer when I was 14 years old in the Bushfire Brigade, New South Wales. So it's now called Rural Fire Service. And I resigned last year, so close to 30 years as a volunteer firefighter. I started work, as soon as I finished high school in the fire protection industry, learning from the bottom up, learning how to maintain fire equipment and train people in emergency procedures, and also learning from my father how to do hazard reduction burning in the bush. And so I served a little bit in the Army Reserve. Nothing special there, but it was a good experience. I've worked in my own company called Fire Support for close to 10 years now. And specializing in bushfire safety and building inspections for fire compliance. I
know this sounds a bit silly.
Sure.
But what exactly does it entail, like when you say that you try and prevent bushfires? So are you the people who backfire,
Hazard reduction burning?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's two things. Like people say back burning a lot. Now, back burning is actually when there's a bushfire burning like towards people. And a back burn is where the fire brigade will light a fire intentionally to burn out an area, and hopefully that fire will meet the main fire, and because there's nothing left to burn, it drops down. They can put it out, or they can save property.
Yeah.
With hazard reduction burning, that's different because there's no bushfire burning. It's actually when off season in the winter, hopefully, or spring or autumn. You can do it in summer if the conditions are fine, but you light a small fire, usually at the top of a slope, and you let the fire burn very slowly down the hill. And it burns only the ground, dead fuel, like all the twigs and leaves and things like that. And that's called hazard reduction burning. What you're doing is reducing the hazard, the fire hazard. You're burning the dead fuel. So if there's a future bushfire, it's less intense. And especially next to communities, it's super important because when a bushfire comes and you haven't done that for many years, it's just thick, full of fuel, right?
Yeah.
And it'll, like I explain it like a gas fire. You're in school, you got those gas Bunsen burners. You turn the gas up full, you have a big flame. And because there's a lot of gas. You turn the gas down, you're reducing fuel, the flame goes down. It's the same with bushfire. If you reduce the fuel next to homes, the bushfire is less intense and you can save homes. So that's what I try to preach and teach, and actually do that physical work as much as I can in Sydney and New South Wales, and doing it in Israel, which is awesome.
Yeah. We're going to get to all the things that you've done in Israel. But I'm just also curious, growing up in Tassie and then you moved to Sydney, do you ever meet a Jew before? Like, did you even know what a Jew?
Yeah, of course I know what Jews are. I went to church my whole life.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Yeah. So I know the Bible, and I know that it's the Bible land, right? So
Yes.
it's where everything happened, and a lot of history there. I know my history, also modern history, World War One, with the Anzacs, the Light Horse Regiment charged Beersheba, liberated Beersheba from the Turks, and then went straight on to take Jerusalem as well. And after that, the Ottoman Turks were pretty much defeated, and the Brits took over for a bit, and then became Israel. So
I actually didn't realize that you have a Christian background.
yeah, absolutely.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
I'm always curious because I've been to like rural Australia before, and I've like Aussies, and I'm like, yeah, I'm Jewish, and they're like, what's a Jew?
Oh, you're kidding?
No, I'm not kidding.
Yeah. Well, I
And
mean, they mustn't go to church because
yeah,
if they do, they know the Bible, and then they know what a Jew is. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because Jesus was Jewish, and so yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so you always knew who the Jewish people were.
Yeah, absolutely. I also have, like I said, a keen interest in modern history, and that includes World War II and what happened after World War II.
Yeah.
War of Independence, 48. There was also an international regiment with that War of Independence made up of non-Jews helping Israel fight that war.
Yes.
And I thought that was really interesting. That was just a small thing that happened during the war. I assumed that continued on afterwards, but that was just when Israel was fighting for its life. And so when I was 18 years old, I was in the Australian Army Reserve, and I was getting bored because I wasn't really doing anything.
Yeah.
So there was a visitor talking about Israel and talked about that regiment, international people helping. And I thought that was a thing. So I rang the embassy saying, hey, I'd like to join that regiment in the IDF. And he said, well, that hasn't existed for 50 years or whatever. And I said, okay, well, if I wanted to join IDF, how do I do that? And he says, are you Jewish? And I go, no. He goes, well, you need to be Jewish. And the only other way to do it is if your mother's Jewish. And I said, no, my mother's not Jewish. And he said, okay, well, you can marry a Israeli girl. And I said to him, can you recommend anyone? Everyone laughs at that one. It's true. I said that. And he goes, no, the embassy, we don't provide those services. So that was when I was 18. I was all keen to do something exciting.
Wow.
But anyway, no.
By the way, I just want to pause because I've never heard of a non-Jewish Aussie who is 18 years old who wants to join the IDF.
I was really idealistic back then, and I was looking for adventure, right? So, it's not like when you know me and my personality, and that's kind of makes sense. That's what Tim would do.
Is that something that all your mates?
Well, I mean, now I'm doing fire stuff, right?
Classic Tim.
Yeah, classic Tim.
Classic Tim.
Yeah.
But by the way, I'm surprised because I would think that you could join the IDF if you wanted to. Like, I don't think you. I feel like
I was told no. You got to be a citizen.
That is interesting. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I do know. Or
Jewish. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. They should, by the way, have a unit or have something for just non-Jews.
I reckon there should be a volunteer unit, both combative and non-combat, because there's a lot of people who want to help the IDF all over the world who might not want to be in a combat role, but there's so many jobs you can do. For every one soldier that is fighting, there's at least 10 people that support that through transport, medical, everything.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
So, yeah, I mean, that's a cool concept, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll do that in the future.
Yeah. I think, well, if anyone from the IDF
want to talk to me.
Yeah, get in touch with Tim.
I got some cool ideas. Some of them might not work, but I think this was a pretty good. Yeah.
Okay, so I can see already that you always had an interest regards to Israel and the Jewish people. You exposed yourself to that. So would you say that you were, I guess, a Zionist?
Yeah, I don't like labels.
Okay,
people ask me, am I religious?
Yeah.
And I don't like that label either.
Okay.
Because, in Australia anyway, in the Christian world, if you're called religious, it's not a good thing because It's, people say the right things, pretend to do the right things to appear to be religious, but in their hearts, they're not really. Whereas I prefer to live out my faith, and I believe God made my heart the way it is to help others. And I need to do that to fulfill what I believe God wants me to do in my life, which is to love and bless other people.
Yeah.
And so that's what I do. And that's what I'm doing in Israel. When it comes to Zionism, I don't like, I guess technically I am by definition.
How do you define Zionism?
Well,
what do you think the definition
the way
is?
I would, I think the definition of Zionism is you believe that the Jews deserve their own country and their own state and their own political system, and that they have a right to be there. I think that's the basic definition.
I would agree.
And yeah, I go a bit deeper. I just think you have a right to live in peace wherever you are in the world, and you shouldn't be attacked for who you are. And especially when the war of 1948 was like 6 or 7 Arab countries tried to wipe you out, and they failed. And there was Transjordan and Israel, and plus parts of Israel were Egyptian controlled, I believe, in Gaza and East Jerusalem and what they call West Bank, Samaria.
Jordan.
Yeah, I was supposed to be controlled by Jordan.
Yeah.
But then they kept attacking you, and you kept winning. So there's got to be a point where you go, okay, look, we're going to control this area because you keep trying to kill us. So we're going to take it, and you need to stop trying to kill us. That's my thoughts on that. And same with the Golan Heights. You can't let people have the high ground when they're trying to kill you. And so sometimes you have to take it and hold it so people don't keep trying to kill you. And everyone in the world not everyone, there's a lot of voices out there that hate that you guys won those wars. Well, too bad, you didn't die, so too bad for everyone else. That's good. And I hope you keep winning, and I hope that there'll be peace one day. I don't think there will be, because I'm not a pessimist. I just know that. Realist. Well, yeah, I'm realist. Yeah. Yeah. I don't think it's ever gonna be people hugging each other across borders. It's just not going to happen.
It's very unfortunate, because I wish that it could happen, and I feel like as a Jewish person, I do have empathy.
We should try to work towards it, absolutely.
For sure, but
we should always try and work towards it and do like cross-border things that are positive, and teaching kids on both sides to get along and cross-cultural stuff and sports and.
It was a thing, by the way.
But you got to be realist too.
Yeah, before October the 7th, I actually went on a JNF trip for educators, and we went to the Gaza, like they call it the Otef Aza, basically down south where everything happened on October the 7th. And there's a wall that separates Gaza and Israel. And the Israelis called it the wall for peace, and everyone was
in the Tivasara, where you put the little
did you do that?
I've done it a few times.
You've been there, done that.
Yeah.
And then all the people that we met, they were telling us how much that was their lives. All they wanted was peace. Yeah, that lady's not there anymore, because she was just too much, because they lost 20 people on that day, and people were burnt in their homes to ash, and horrible things happened. And that lady that ran that piece, she had her own little museum, and she had a little movie that she showed, and then you had the little ceramics that you put on the wall. Yes.
And so she was completely 100% committed to peace and coexistence. And then that was the last thing. And she was broken by it, which is understandable. Yeah. So it's really sad.
It is really sad, because that's the thing. People always say, I just want peace, like as if insinuating that maybe Israel doesn't want peace.
But by wishing hard enough, it'll happen. It's like...
and it's like we strive for peace every day, and we want to be able to live with our neighbors in peace and harmony. And Jewish people, a majority of them, that's what we're for. But we also want to live in our homeland. And I think that we have every right to live in our homeland, and it's not such a crazy thing. And you're a religious person, so you know all of that kind of background. But it is really unfortunate to see the indoctrination that goes on. And we don't even need to talk about what happened in Israel, Thursday night, Friday
God.
for us.
No, we won't go into it. But look, you've got like the Nazi Germany, from every kid to every old person, everyone was essentially a Nazi. Where were all the good Germans? Silent. Um, Hamas and its ideology needs to be destroyed completely. Completely destroyed. Nothing left of it. People want to live in peace, great. Cannot allow that sort of thing. Palestinian Islamic Jihad, that too needs to go. All that crap needs to go. Yeah, like if it gets rebuilt, it needs to be a beautiful place. A clean, prosperous Singapore type place, and it can be beautiful and amazing. And I hope it is.
I hope so too.
Yeah, but any whiff of that crap, they need to step on it, and it needs to be rebuilt. Needs to be rebuilt, and I'm no expert in that, but I know what will work and what won't work. And doing what everyone's been trying for the last 20, 30 years, we're not going to keep trying that again.
It's not working.
No, it's done.
It's done.
Done. Yep.
Yeah, I woke up Friday morning. 5 buses had bombs on them from the West Bank. A lady got stabbed in the old city. And then the whole thing with the Bibas family and that other 84-year-old guy. In the end, the mum, Shiri's body wasn't even in there. And I was like, is this normal for a country to experience that? That was like in one day. Yep. And we're in a ceasefire, whatever that means.
Yeah.
But I just kept thinking, like, no other Western country would ever stand for such nonsense.
No.
Ever.
Nope.
Bombs, rockets, stabbings, and these things happen. And you're going to share with us because you've been to Israel a couple times. I'm sure you know that these things happen all the time. At least, honestly, I hear of something at least once a week, whether we're in war or not. And it's nonsense that we continue to go like it's normal.
Yeah, well, with all the alerts up north, because I was up near the Lebanon border too, as well as around Gaza. A lot of noise around Gaza because, tunnels were being detonated, bombs were dropping, machine guns, artillery. It was just constant stuff going on down near Gaza. Up north, it was more rockets. And so people get used to it. And also when the sirens go off, they know that it's not their siren, it's their next suburb siren. And so we're at this pub, essentially, bar in this Christian and Muslim town. And the bar was actually owned by Muslims, which was amazing. And so we're having a beer with them after work. And the siren went for their town, so we had to go into an inner room. They didn't have bomb shelters. So we went into an inner room. It was pretty much all clear. So we went outside, and then more sirens went off, but it was next town.
Yeah.
And so we were watching the
Iron Dome.
We're standing outside, drinking a beer, watching the fireworks, and everyone was just like talking and smiling, and they were used to it, and that's just crazy. It was surreal. It was surreal, and I was there with my mate Ben, who was helping with the fire mission, and it was surreal, and that's normal for them. It's normal for them. We kind of got used to it a little bit because when you get siren after siren after siren, we had 5 in one day on a Saturday, and so I was thanking God for the Sabbath because I had a lot of work to do on my computer, and I'm not Jewish, so I'm allowed to. Yeah. And so I was in bed typing away, and then after the 3rd time we had to go to the shelter because you had to be there for 10 minutes staring at a white wall. I just don't tell my wife this, but I just stopped going to the shelter, and there were booms overhead because the missiles were getting intercepted above us, so the windows were shaking, and I did feel a bit. I don't like to admit being scared, but I certainly felt something that I said, this is not a good place to be. But at the same time, I didn't want to go to the shelter because
it was so disruptive.
It was disruptive, so I know it's stupid, but people are like, what are you, crazy, go? But it was weird. If you're not there, it's hard to explain.
No, I get it. My uncle has a son with severe disabilities, and he lives in Israel, in kind of near Ashdod.
Okay.
And they don't go.
It'd
to
be
the bomb
just
shelter.
too difficult.
It's way too difficult.
With his condition,
It's way too traumatic for
Yeah.
their son.
Yeah.
And running, and I'm like thinking as an Australian, like, what the hell? Like, there's a rocket, and
But with special needs, I totally get it.
They just need to live their lives, and they've learned to just sleep with it. It's like a background noise.
Yeah, and that's the whole point, is that shouldn't be normal. That shouldn't be something that we live with, that anyone has to. It's insane. And my friend Hila, who owns the farm at Ntibasara, that was saved on October 7, because the farm workers knew what to do with the equipment that we helped them get and the training. She said that 5 rockets a day, it was a certain period where 5 rockets a day was seen as not too much by the government. For them, it was a lot, but for the government, it was seen as not too much. If they did more than that, then the Israeli government or IDF would do something back. So it was a stupid situation where they were kind of allowed to shoot at Israel as long as they didn't do it too much.
When you say they, you're talking about Gaza.
Yeah. Hamas and whoever, right?
Yeah.
So they were kind of permitted to, all right, look, Israel will absorb this amount of rockets, but not more than that. Isn't that dumb? Not one rocket's too much. Yeah.
Yeah.
One is too much.
I've realized in life, when you let bad behavior,
it gets worse and worse. It's like bullies at school.
Exactly.
They get worse and they never stop. Funny thing is, and I'm not saying Hamas is this at all, but with some bullies at school, teach your kids to stand up, because if you don't, it hurts your kid in the long term. Plus, they may become friends with the bully, or the kids who are just being stupid. If they stand up for themselves, they get respect and they might even be mates with them. Some bullies, though, are little narcissist scumbags.
Yeah, totally. But you are right.
Yeah, but you got to stand up for yourself. You can't let bullies keep doing it. And it's the same with other countries and groups. You have to have strength. You can have peace, but you need strength to have peace.
Yeah, I look at for me, when I look at King David and the way he operated, he was a warrior.
Yep.
And but also
with Saul as well. Yeah. Saul was trying to kill him all the time, and he was trying to do the right thing by Saul as well. Remember that story where I think he took Saul's sword while Saul was sleeping, and then said to Saul, "Look, I've got your sword. I could have killed you, but I didn't."
Yes.
And so that was a pretty powerful story. Anyway, I digress, but I love that.
But we look at these stories and we really need to take inspiration from them. And also, I feel when Jewish people, when we treat ourselves with respect, our enemies will treat us with respect, because they take themselves very seriously. They definitely do. And that's the thing that the Western mentality will not understand.
Yep.
These people, they think completely differently.
They respect strength.
They do.
That's why they kind of respect Trump, because they don't like him, but they know that he's going to kick their butt if they do anything wrong. Whereas every other president, wishy-washy,
Yeah,
trot all over him.
I was thinking of a ruder word than wishy-washy, but yes, wishy-washy. Yeah. So tell us, how did you even get to Israel to begin with? Who made that connection?
All right, so I saw, it must have been a very brief thing on the news about farms in Israel and the South were on fire because of the balloons and kites. That was 2018. I noticed that. Probably noticed it before then, but there was something.
This was on mainstream media?
It may have been. And then I looked on YouTube and saw a whole bunch more.
By the way, I'm just interrupting you for those who might be confused about kites and stuff from Gaza, and correct me if I'm wrong. They would send over kites and balloons that had
helium balloons, like party balloons with things like teddy bears on them or "I love you" written on the balloons, and underneath it would be a brick, like for the barbecue, that's on fire with wire, and it would float across and it would burn through the rope or string or whatever was holding it, and it would fall and start fires in forests and fields and farms. Wheat crops completely burnt, orchards burnt. And that was an easy way for the Gazans to hurt Israelis.
Yeah.
And so when I saw this happening, it really made me upset, because people were using fire to burn out people's farms. And there's normal farmers. Farmers aren't people trying to hurt anyone. They're just trying to grow crops to feed people, right? So They were doing it tough, and I realized, they had very basic equipment, like a trailer with a pump and hose and no uniforms, so they had no protection while fighting the fire. It looked like they had no training, which was correct. They didn't. And so I looked into it and I came up with a plan. I went to the Israeli embassy and said, look, I want to help. I want to give them some basic training in safety and tactics so they can use what they've got better and wear different clothing, because the uniform shirts, the emergency response teams are made up of volunteers in each community. And they're given these black shirts with Kitok Koronot or something on it, like emergency response, but they're polyester. And so if they catch fire or burning embers fall on them, they'll actually melt onto the skin. Yeah. And that's really bad. So this is a cotton t-shirt. That'll just burn a hole in it. It won't hurt me. But if I was wearing a polyester shirt at a fire and it melts, I got to get a skin graft if I'm unlucky, If I'm really unlucky, you get like a flash flame and the whole thing is on fire. Not good. Yeah.
So they obviously had zero awareness of anything to do with fires.
Yeah, absolutely. Basically. Yeah, and fire prevention, also no real concept. So when you have fires, how to make them less deadly, I guess.
So you went to the Israeli embassy in
Canberra. Yeah.
Do you know how incredible you are, Tim?
No. Please.
Okay.
We should keep talking about the stuff.
No, but I'm just thinking you're a regular Aussie. You watch something on TV, then you YouTube it, and you get bothered by it, and then you actually do something. You take yourself to the Israeli embassy in Canberra. I just want to let you know, most people would be like, "Oh, shame for Israel," maybe or maybe not, and that's it. Move on with their lives. So you go to the embassy.
They put me in because they can't give money out, right? So I needed funds for transport equipment, stuff like that.
Yes, exactly.
And so they put me in contact with a Jewish organization, who then put me in contact with a Christian organization that loves Israel, and the head office wasn't interested, but the Australian office was interested. And they had just been given $20,000 donation specifically for the fire situation.
Oh, awesome.
And so they're supposed to send money to their parent body in Israel, but they said, no, we want to sponsor this. And so great, because I was able to take equipment over there and do training, their first ever training. Netiva Asara was the first place I did the training, and I did communities around that area too, down into the Eshkol region, and also I forget the name of the regional council, but the towns were Rohama.
Listen, I don't.
There's a whole bunch of different kibbutz in Moshavim. Yeah.
So
but basically they look like country New South Wales, country Victoria, lots of farms, wheat fields, grasslands, and eucalyptus forest as well, and a little bit of deserty country, more coastal heath near the beaches, and stuff that burns really well. I was able to help them out, and the first training I asked them, how do you guys fight fires? Like, if there's a fire, how do you let everyone know, and how do you respond? Tell me what you do. And they said, essentially, we just let everyone know by phone or radio where it is. Someone grabs the trailer, we park the trailer in front of the fire, and we let the fire come at us, and we try to put it out. And I was shocked, because in a field with the wind behind it, you don't want to be in front of that fire, because the fire goes with the wind. It doesn't care who you are. If you can't put it out, it'll go over the top of you. And that happened to some of them. And they were fighting these fires the best they could, and their clothes were getting burnt, and they were getting scarred as well. And they were doing it tough. And fire trucks can't always get there because there's not enough fire and rescue over there. And the fire trucks can't go in the fields either, because they're very sandy, soft soils, so they get bogged. So they're on their own a lot. Anyway, So learning about tactics, how to fight fire from behind the fire, and to go along the edges, and to also drive along, putting the fire out, and using basic tools like backpack leaf blowers and backpack water sprays to put out the spot fires before they turn into big fires. That was a huge game changer for them. So when the fire started, they can go off in a normal vehicle with two guys and have a backpack leaf blower to basically push the fire back into the black to snuff it out, and the guy with a water backpack to knock it down as well, put out spot fires. And so simple techniques have made a big difference. So I've been going back each year for the last 5 years, since 2019, basically.
And do you go to the same communities, or are you moving around now?
For the first 3 missions, I did. I went to the same communities, plus a few others, because I wanted to do new ones, and people heard about it and wanted to be involved. So that was great. After the war started, the first mission after the war started, I said I wanted to do the north as well as the south, and so we were able to connect with a lot of people. Actually, we trained, I think it was like 20 communities. It was huge.
Wow,
it was insane.
That's insane.
Yeah, we combined a lot of communities together as well, or you just can't get it done, which is great because communities working together, especially we do either a full day, which isn't possible because people have jobs. So we started to do a nighttime training where you do all the classroom stuff and videos from like 7 p.m. until 10 p.m. or something like that. And so different communities can join up with that. And it's good because they're talking about incidents that have happened and how they responded. So it's not just learning the skills, it's also collaboration with different communities and talking about scenarios as well. And they've never done that before either. So that was awesome. And then we do an afternoon of training, usually on a Friday afternoon, but it can be any day. Afternoon training, that's where we go into a field and light some fires, real fires, small controlled ones, contained. We've got a fire hose next to the fire at all times, and they use their techniques and training and existing equipment to put out different types of fires. And so they've never had live fire training either. So they're really, really happy about that. Yeah.
Were you shocked that Israel, which is a pretty Western country, more or less, is the fire safety and fire trucks, is that run by the government or is that a private?
Yeah, they have a very, very good fire and rescue service, professional, and they have a few volunteer stations, but not too many. Compared to the numbers, say, New South Wales, we have about 8.5 million people in New South Wales. Israel has about 9.5 million people, so it's comparable. But for population, we have over like 6,000 professional firefighters and 70,000 volunteers. In reality, it's more like between 10 and 20,000, but there's 70,000 on the books. Israel has less than 3,500 volunteers.
For the whole of Israel?
Yeah, whole of Israel. And they have around 2,000, 2,500 professionals. So you're looking at about 1/3 of the full-timers and like 5% of the volunteers that we have. So they have very well trained, very well equipped, but there's not many stations to cover all areas. So they focus on the cities and the major towns, and that's what they have. So, I mean, they need more funding, obviously, but everyone does over there. So they do what they can with what they have, and they have a very high standard of training and equipment. So I'm very impressed with them. With the kibbutzim, moshavim, the small communities, they're mostly on their own because of the lack of stations, because there might be a regional station like in northern Samaria that covers a massive area. So if there's 2 fires at once, the community is on their own. And if there's lots of fires because of the kites and rockets and whatnot, yeah, definitely on your own. So what happened in Australia is we've developed our volunteer bushfire brigade system and country fire service over 100 years, because when colonisation happened and the Aborigines were pushed away, there wasn't enough burning done that the Aboriginals would have done naturally and as part of their culture. So the farmers realised that they were getting more and more severe fires and they needed to look after each other and have equipment. That turned into fire brigades and volunteer fire brigades, and over 100 years it developed into what we have today. Israel's a new country and it's only been in existence really since 1948 as a nation. So they're still in their development stage, so we can't expect everything to be perfect. What I've identified is a real need that needs to be developed. So these communities, they already have a system of emergency response teams within them. So they already have structure. We just need to help get them better equipment, a shed to put the equipment in, because a lot of the trailers and whatnot are outside, and they may have a tarpaulin on them, they may not. So what I'd love to have is every community have a fire shed and a basic fire truck eventually. Absolutely training, absolutely need uniforms. And that's what my program's trying to do, is to give them the training, or it is doing it. It's giving them the training. We're developing a fire uniform where we need funding, of course, to buy the uniforms to give to them and help them build up their equipment. And then, of course, you've got community wildfire prevention, which they need to establish and maintain fire breaks around the community. So that's another thing that's a new concept. They understand buffer zones and security space. When you apply that to fire, they understand the concept, but there's no one to really push it. With the training and the equipment, there's no one there to actually say, okay, I'm gonna actually structure this into an organization that's nationwide. And so that's why my goal, my vision, is to go to Israel full time for 4 years to establish it, because there's only one of me to do training. So I need to establish regional training teams where people can continue the training. Because that's what's going to need to happen, because I can't go to over 100 different communities each year. There's not enough time. So I need to set up regional training teams and management teams to manage their region for the kibbutzim moshavim, and to also have national standards for equipment and uniforms, so that every community has a minimum standard and the same type of uniform. So that we don't just get some uniforms from America and some from Europe and some from China that might not actually have fire rate. That happened once. A Christian organization, I asked them, please consult with me about what you're going to get, because I'll make sure that it's actually fire rated equipment.
Yep.
And they went with this Chinese supplier that gave them these like bib and brace overalls that was supposed to be fire rated. And when I looked at them, the material wasn't fire rated at all. It was just cotton, which is better than nothing. But the reflective strip on the uniform was fire rated reflective strip, but the material of the uniform wasn't fire rated. So people might use it thinking they're protected and they're not. The worst thing is they spent a whole bunch of money and wasted time and effort and resources on uniforms that are no good.
Exactly.
So we need a national standard for uniforms made in Israel, and we're doing that actually with our jackets and pants. And
that's unbelievable.
Yeah.
But I'm still surprised that, such a, like, how you said that Israel, like they really do provide a good service as a
the fire rescue service is amazing.
But then how did these guys that you met like in 2019, how did they not know that they shouldn't be wearing polyester?
Because
isn't that basic?
They're not part of fire rescue, because fire rescues in the major towns and cities.
So they don't
the
communicate.
kibbutzim and moshavim are small communities, and they're not connected.
So they don't communicate at all. So it's not like the big fire.
No one's done anything wrong. It's just that the fire service doesn't have any staff to actually. There's no program to actually do that, and so there's no staff to do that. And the people can't be expected to know what they don't know.
I know, but to me it just seems
in the communities.
I know Israel is Israel's struggling on every single front.
Yep.
So I'm not.
This is an important front, because regardless of war, they need to be able to save their farms and communities too.
So
one Molotov cocktail took out the town of Mevo Medim, which was like 50 homes destroyed in like 2 hours. And that was from one Molotov cocktail out the window of a car. And that was east of Jerusalem. Is it east or west of Jerusalem?
Well, where the Palestinians
towards the Mediterranean is, hang on, I think that's west of Jerusalem. Anyway.
Whatever, somewhere.
Yeah. Anyway, destroyed by a Molotov cocktail. Now, when I looked at the overhead aerial photos of before and after, I was like, yeah, of course they don't have enough fire breaks, and the forest was too thick leading up to it. Needed to be thinned out to, like I said, turn the gas down on the fire. So when the fire approaches, it drops down, and then you have a gap. And then also the community also needs to have less flammable fuel around as well, because people had these fir trees everywhere, and you can have your trees, but you got to trim them and not have branches hanging over roofs and roofs covered in leaves.
Yes, because it's
So
not safe in case of a
fire-wise
fire.
principles need to be applied in communities as well as outside the community.
But I'm still shocked. I don't know, maybe I'm shocked that you would think
Yep.
that they would say, you know what, that these moshavim and kibbutzim, for example, the ones especially near Gaza, where they were getting all these lovely balloons and kites, you would think that they would be like, oh, we better train these moshavim and kibbutzim because, hey, they're the ones who are actually dealing with fire, unfortunately, on a daily basis. So I guess they're just spread too thin.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's spread too thin. The farmers just want to get back to work. And communities also, it's not their job to do fires.
Yeah.
And so that they do it when they have to. And then they go back to normal life because they've got families to feed and look after and things to do. And they don't see themselves as firefighters. And they say, look, this is not our job, but we do it because we have to. And so since 2019, since my first trip, I knew exactly what was needed, the structure. I saw it all, what was needed. And I've been fighting hard and contacting organizations all over the world trying to get funding, and, you know, deaf ears and closed doors the whole way through. And I was going to give up in 2023 before the war, because that year, every year I usually got at least 50% of what I needed to do a mission, and I'd do it anyway with what I had. So shoestring budget, and we did great stuff.
When you say we, you and a couple mates?
Me and my brother Alan and all my mate Benjamin. He's an army guy that I know. And the first one was by myself as well. I went by myself the first time. Anyway, so I've been trying to get funding for at least 1 month a year to do a mission each year. And 2023 just, for whatever reason, didn't happen. There was no funding at all. And so I said to my wife, look, you know, if God's going to bless it, he'll bless it. If he doesn't, he doesn't. I need to, you know, be obedient to God's will, because you know, God will make it happen if he wants. I need to be the one who's prepared to do it if I can. So it didn't happen. So I was like, okay, I guess I need to give up on this dream. And then the war happened, and I needed to get back as soon as possible. And of course, funding opened up to do more work because of the war. And so last year I was there 2.5 months total, 3 different trips, and we did a huge amount of work. And I'm going back again this year. But we need to transition from just these short missions to a full-time sustained effort, so we can actually build something that's sustainable into the long term. Because the reason I want to go for 4 years is I don't want to be, you know, the person telling Jewish people what to do. I want to set something up that they can take and go, great, this is going to be an ongoing thing. To do that, you need, my best guess is 4 years to really get it entrenched into communities and entrenched into their psyche, and it'll become habit to actually do regular training, hopefully. And when we got the team set up, they can sustain that.
And I feel like every time you go to Israel and you make those connections and people actually meet you and they learn from you, I feel like that probably helps those connections to get.
Every time we do a mission, it strengthens the next mission, and because people hear about what we're doing and they want that, they want it. And because the good thing is, I went there with the attitude of being very humble, not telling them what they have to do. I said, look, I'm here. I have this background, but I'm not going to tell you how to do fighting fires. I'm just going to present you with options and education on how stuff works. And the farming communities are very practical. They want to know what makes sense, what works, what's simple. They don't want complicated stuff. And also, you can get people from fire service backgrounds who will go over there and teach fire service tactics, because that's what they know, professional or volunteer tactics and methods. But the problem is they don't have the fire trucks and they don't have the equipment.
And the uniforms.
They don't have the uniforms. So you can't teach firefighting drills and tactics when you're expecting your people to be fully protected from that fire. You go, well, these guys could be in, you know, short sandals and a t-shirt. Hopefully not, because we teach them, look, wear work boots, jeans, and a long sleeve cotton shirt and a hat and gloves from their version of Bunnings, whatever that is, and a t-shirt, wet t-shirt around your face so you're protecting yourself, a pair of sunnies, protecting yourself as much as possible. Now, that's too much to hope for because they go off in whatever they're dressed in, right?
Yeah.
And so you got to teach them stuff that they can do that's safe because they're going to fight fire no matter what. So we've got to teach them to be as safe as possible in the tactics that's got to reflect that. And so when they get uniforms, we'll teach them different stuff. So that's where some people say, they look at the training and they go, that's a bit different and it needs to be.
It needs to be because what you're training them is actually saving lives.
Yeah. And so we're trying, they're going to do certain things anyway. We want to make it better, like more effective and safer. And so that's a big point of what we're doing. And they know this, they understand it, and they love it.
Yeah. And I feel like they also see that it's actually working.
It does work. Yeah.
I mean,
they apply it. Like we were at one community, and then the very next day, that was in Katsrin, in the Golan Heights. The very next day, they were out using the techniques with the backpack blowers and attacking the fire like we taught them. And they said, it's much better. Yeah, we're not getting burnt as much.
They were like, wow, this is magic.
It goes out quicker and we're not getting hurt. So
they see.
It's a win-win.
And how does your wife feel about potentially moving to Israel for 4 years?
Well, since the beginning, she's been really worried about me, obviously, my safety, but also she has a career here as well. So she's very experienced. She's a hospital chaplain at 2 children's hospitals, one for special needs with kids that have shortened lifespans. So she is looking after the kids as they transition to death. She's looking after the families.
Yeah.
She's running funeral services and looking after staff as well. So it's a horrible job, but she's been doing it for a long time, and she obviously doesn't, I would not want her to leave that job because she's loving and caring for people that need her. She said, look, if you get the 4-year funding, she'll come with me. But if it's just 1 month here, 1 month there, there's no point. There's no point to her leaving, ruining her career for that. So that's where we stand. But she's 100% committed to going with me for the 4 years if that happens. Yeah. Well, we need to connect with someone who can make that happen. I do have a structured budget for the 4 years, which covers everything that's needed, including my salary. But I said to my wife, if God just gave me just a salary, right, so I can afford to buy groceries and have a roof over our head, I'd just do what I can and train as much as I could, and I'd make stuff out of nothing. Like, I'm pretty good at that, and I'd try to get some funding here and there. So if we can get the salaries, I'm prepared to go without a budget. So a lot of people wouldn't do that because they know, no, we need a budget. But I think an analogy it was told to me, it's like if you're a big heavy boat in the ocean, you can't be guided because you're not moving. So if you move a little bit, God can actually nudge you and put you where he wants you to be, but you got to move. And that's faith, I think, moving in faith, not being stupid, but you do need some funding, of course. But that's my thoughts on the matter. And my wife was actually okay with that.
Is she not scared, with everything going
safety?
On in Israel? Yeah.
Not I mean, she has concerns, but not so much. She's been to a lot of the Jewish events where I've spoken, and she's seen the reaction from the Jewish community. Plus, Hila Fenlon, the farmer, came out from Israel to talk about what happened at her farm, and my wife's her eyes just opened up, and she said, "Look, this is a godly thing.
Yeah,
this is a good thing." And these things don't always come across as clear as this during your lifetime.
It's your mission, and it really is.
It is my mission. Yeah, my dad certainly taught me a lot in the fire background, and me doing what I did to build on that. But my heart is, my parents, of course, but God. I feel that, how can I do anything else than use what I can to help others? And it's unique that it's in Israel.
And you're going to Israel, please God, actually quite soon.
Yep.
I'm
going for the last half of march, so 19 days to do wildfire hazard assessments for 5 communities. So I spend a couple of days taking lots of photos and measurements and making notes for a community, then go do the same thing for 4 more. And then I come home and write reports based on my findings. And so the purpose of those wildfire hazard reports are the community will have a map, several maps, and they'll know where the hazards are, the type of hazard, and also what to do about that hazard with advice on how to clear it or minimize it, which is important because a lot of people don't know what they don't know. A lot of people don't comprehend where or know where their hazards are, and they're certainly not sure what to do about it if they did. So that's what those reports are for.
So crucial.
Yeah.
And have you, in a way, fallen in love with Israel, if that makes sense?
Yeah, parts of it, certain parts. I've never considered myself a country boy, but in Israel, I like the country areas. I like the rural areas. I could see myself living at a kibbutz or a moshav easy.
Yeah.
Everyone says, Jerusalem is great and Tel Aviv's amazing, and it's like,
What else?
I mean, it's also very packed. Yeah.
And it's intense.
Yeah.
And it's.
Yeah, no, I'd much rather be in the countryside. I can deal with if it's on fire, I know what to do.
Do you feel like generally when you go to Israel, are Israelis warm and kind to
Mostly.
you?
Yeah, mostly. Yeah,
you've had a positive experience every time you've gone.
Yeah,
to
mostly
Israel?
positive. Yeah. And all Israelis, whether they're Jewish, Muslim, or Christian or Druze, when they hear what I'm doing, they're just blown away by it, and they're just so appreciative.
Yeah.
And like I said, we were at that pub / bar / bottle shop, liquor store for the Americans out there, that was owned by these Arabs, right?
Yeah.
In this Christian Arab town where they live side by side in peace. And we're having a beer with them while rockets were happening and watching football on the TV. And they were just great guys. And next time I'm in that area, we'll definitely pop in again.
And say hi.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Have you lost any mates or any?
Yeah, my best friend.
Oh, yours. Oh.
Yeah, I consider he's pretty much the only guy I could call my best friend, a true friend. When you get older, you have less friends, right? So
quality versus quantity.
Yeah, and he was all pro-Palestine, pro-Gaza, and that really hurt because he didn't want to acknowledge any of what happened, what Hamas did, and he's got his blinders on, and so that I hope that we can be friends in the future, but it's that was tough. So yep.
That you push forward because you believe in it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to stop doing what I know is right. Yeah. Look, to be honest, it makes more sense for me to forget about all this stuff and just focus on business here, and just do my fire consultancy, do my reports, do my inspections, do my bush work, just build that up, focus on business, right? I mean, that's what my wife was telling me at the beginning, because that's what everyone was telling me. But I didn't quit. I didn't give up. I almost gave up. I was not sure what God wanted because there was no funding, so I didn't know what was going on. But then the war happened, so I knew God. There was a lot of need still, and it made my my heart a lot more committed to making things better in Israel. And so, yeah.
Well, I think now people would agree when I call you a hero. I don't just say that lightly. I know you don't like any of that. We're not going to.
If you're going to call me a hero, you should give me some medals on my chest.
Yeah. True.
Well, words are cheap. Give me the medals.
Give you And
I'm joking.
And give me the funding, guys.
Actually, yes. More importantly, the funding. Yeah.
I love how I'm saying that loud. But when we put the show notes, when this goes on Spotify and YouTube, we definitely will put all the links and all that. We'll be in touch about all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we have a website. Yeah.
Exactly, because I do know that at the end of the day, we need money.
Yeah,
we need funding.
Absolutely funding. I mean, if I wasn't married, I'd be there doing it with nothing. But you got responsibilities, and I got a mother to look after as well.
Of course, and
yeah.
everyone
Yeah.
everyone needs to make a living, and
you need to eat food. It's nice to eat food sometimes.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, put fuel in your vehicle.
100%, 100%.
These frivolous things we call necessities.
I know, like food and a roof over your head.
Food and a roof. Yeah.
We're not asking for steak every night for dinner.
Yeah,
exactly.
Although steak in Israel, the first couple of times I went to places that weren't very good, and then a friend of mine who's a farmer said, "Oh no, you can go to the supermarket and they'll cut it up. Really good steaks."
Oh, really?
Yeah, really good steaks.
Okay.
So Israel does have some good steak. I wasn't expecting that.
Actually, Australia kosher meat here is apparently great. I've heard from people who eat
I'll
non
have to
kosher.
try it sometime.
Tim, you are a superstar. We'll just leave it at that.
All right, thank you.
But it's been such an honor to hear your story and to hear what you've actually been doing for Israel and for Israelis. Like we said, Jews, non-Jews, all Israelis. And your work is saving lives, real lives, and saving towns, cities, kibbutzim, moshavim.
A lot of farms, yeah.
A lot of farms. And Israel is so grateful and indebted to you, as I am as a Jewish person. And may God give you the strength to continue with your holy work. And I feel everything happens for a reason, and this is holy work. So it will work out because God can't not let it work it out.
Yep. I still need to turn up and do my best. There's another saying, I'll do my best, God will do the rest. But you need to do your best. Action is required.
But you need to make the vessel.
Yeah.
And then let the godly blessings rain down. But you have to have that vessel. Otherwise, the blessings that are raining down, if there's holes in the vessel.
And the things we do in life can cover over that vessel too. When we do things we know God doesn't want us to be doing. So, it's a journey. It's a journey.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing the future.
Yep.
And maybe one day we'll do the part 2, and you'll be in Israel, and
that'd
you'll
be
telling
awesome.
us all about
in my own little fire station.
Oh, that would be amazing.
Which we're hoping to build in near as well.
Oh, amazing. Tim, thank you so much. Really.
Great to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.